Very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's uLaw webinar. The topic or title for today's webinar is uLaw Gmail integration. Today's webinar is not accredited for any CPD credits. In fact, we do have our CPD session that's coming up in a couple of weeks here around expense management. And please tune into our CPD sessions for CPD hours in a couple of weeks from now. But today's session, and we've done this maybe mid last year, is a feature demonstration of one of the rather newer features that we've introduced into the uLaw platform. Okay, and it's the ease and convenience of you being able to integrate, especially around docketing, and more specifically around how you would docket email correspondences between your Gmail email account and uLaw. The purpose for today's webinar and this feature is to, of course, introduce you to this integration. How best can you put it to use and benefit from the practical use of this integration? We'll talk about how you can docket your effort, whether it's reading the email itself. So, certain types of areas of practices may entail you having to read long correspondences that you get from the client, that you get from third party, from the deposition legal representation, right? So there's a lot of correspondence that includes first reading and understanding it. You may have email correspondences in your area of practice where you have to compose them, and pretty much email correspondences sometimes can take minutes, and every minute is money to be made. And one of the challenges that we found earlier on prior to this feature was our customers having to compose the email and then come back into the uLaw system either the same day or the next day, remember what they have to do with regards to that email. Remember how much of time that they actually spend towards composing or reading that email. And sometimes money and time is lost in translation if you don't, for example, if you've spent 15 minutes or 18 minutes in composing that email, but for whatever reason you did not capture the time, you come back the next day and then enter it as 8 minutes. So that's 10 minutes of lost time and effort and money. And hence this feature, after it's been introduced, we can confidently say that our clients are starting to enjoy of really capturing the moment and that email correspondence pretty much as and when it happens, and you don't have to be in the uLaw system at all to be able to docket the time and effort that it's taken you or your colleagues within a growing legal firm to be able to correspond through email and docket that as effort into the system. Okay, so a big part of today's demonstration and today's webinar, since it's non-CPD and it's a very straightforward feature, we're going to try and keep it short and give you some more time back on your Friday afternoon. Okay? So once again, today's title is Gmail integration, a quick feature demonstration of integrating your Gmail account for email correspondence and docketing with the uLaw system. And we'll talk about some of the prerequisites, things that you need to keep in mind, settings that you may have to change to facilitate this feature if you're not already using it. Okay, so I'll jump right into a product demonstration. I'm logged in here into my fictitious legal representative, Roger Moore, one of my favorite bonds. In fact, had an opportunity to meet his statue at the Madame Tussauds earlier this year. So it's a pretty fun moment. Besides the point, I'm going to walk you through and highlight, first and foremost, the first step that you would have to take in setting up this integration between uLaw and your Gmail account. And keep in mind, I stress on the point that it's Gmail. So today, as you probably recognize, uLaw has many integrations across various different business processes with various different third-party systems. So you have integration with Google Drive, you have integration with OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive for all of your document storage. We have integration with RingCentral. We have integrations with Corvum for docketing and capturing of the moment right from your phone, especially around incoming or outgoing phone calls that you make, right? So being able to capture that and docket that as well, including recording of your conversation if you've been prudent with your client around the recording. So we have integrations around those. We also now integrate with third-party, secure, compliant payment gateways, as you know, right from TD to LawPay. And traditionally, you find the integration points all around your settings in uLaw. So for matter-based integrations like Google Drive, I can draw your attention. You see that right at the top where it says Matter Documents, so where do you store your documents? And in this connection, we then prompt you to enter your Gmail or your Google user credentials, your email and password. For Corvum and for RingCentral, you would enter the credentials that you have with them. Likewise, with the payment gateway, under Accounts, you can choose who you're looking to integrate with. And at the time of collecting that money, by clicking on Payment with Credit Card, we would then, of course, ask you first time to provide your credentials when you connect. And once it's connected, then it's all taken care of. In addition to this, as you probably already understand, there is a standard password that you need to enter to log in into your uLaw account to begin with. Simple as that. The reason I share all of this is, in addition to the password, for you to be able to connect with Gmail to integrate docketing, we've introduced what's called as a secret key. And the purpose of this is the fact that email and email systems in today's day and age, digital age, are prone to being hacked, are prone to be vulnerable in the hands of those who are looking to misuse access. And hence we're strengthening the security and strengthening the access credentials beyond just the basic username password by providing or enabling you to have a secret key. So the term that we're using is key, and I'll showcase how this is used across not only the docketing for other areas as well. So long story short, step one is really creating a secret key. And if you haven't used this email integration service yet, by default, this would be set to none. Summer of this year, we hope to have the Office 365 integration. We've been working really hard on that, and we've had to jump a few hoops to make it work, and we're pretty confident that by this summer, we should have that as well. So following in line with our Google Drive and OneDrive integration. But for today, we're focused very much in integration with G Suite and the Gmail. So once you choose G Suite as your email integration service, you can now create your own 16-character secret key. Okay, so we're really ensuring that this access point is very unique to you, and only you are able to integrate between your Gmail and uLaw. So then you would enter your 16-character secret key, and of course we recommend upper, lower, special characters, as you can see here in our guide. Okay. So you would set that up, and you would click the Save button. Very critical that you create that secret key with G Suite. So step one, that's taken care of. Step two is you would download what's called as a uLaw Toolbox, which is essentially a Chrome extension. Okay, so if you go under Chrome extension, Web Store, you can search for what's called as uLaw Toolbox. And you would find this uLaw Toolbox offered by our company. And because I already have installed, I see that I don't have to do it. I have to pretty much remove it and add it again. but that's besides the point. There's no use, so I've already added it, and hence you can see how as soon as I've installed it, it downloads and installs the extension exclusively for Chrome, and that's another underlying prerequisite. So this does not work with your Internet Explorer, will not work with your Firefox. But this Gmail integration of pretty much being the bridge between two different systems, Gmail in this case and uLaw, is enabled through this Chrome extension. Okay, so you have uLaw Toolbox, and the latest version is 1.0.8. Now, beyond the docketing, beyond integration, this toolbox offers you various entry points into, or touch points into, a lot of the uLaw's guidelines, manuals, help, access to our social media, reminders for your CPD sessions, access to our YouTube channel for current and past CPDs that you can gain. And in between all of that, so if I have a quick example, you can remind yourself of upcoming webinars. You can click on our Twitter and follow us there. You can go to our website. You can go straight into your app, so pretty much bookmark it. You can click on Help. That takes you into our YouTube channel for uLaw Help. Okay. You can go into our SlideShare to download all of our manuals. And I'll draw your attention, if I can annotate this right, there's what's called as a uLaw docket launcher. Now, before I jump into the Gmail integration, I want you to think about this Chrome extension as an entry point for you as a legal practitioner to capture the moment as and when it happens and translate that back into uLaw from the convenience of your Chrome without even having to have the uLaw app open. So as long as you have a Chrome extension and you've got your credentials right, especially around your secret key, now you have an entry point into the uLaw system that now you can repurpose for various different touch points back to uLaw. Of course, we have our educational site, which is what I'm using today, the EDU site, and hence I'm doing that. But typically for you as a client, this would be defaulted to APP, which is our application. And we do a lot of teaching at universities and colleges, and we use this as a practice platform, and hence I'm switching between app and EDU. But you as a customer would focus by default into the app, so you don't have to change this. I'm using my username, the same username I would use to log into uLaw as well. And remember, I had this secret key. I've entered that already, but ideally you would enter it. And the third prerequisite is for you to be able to find an email ID that is associated with a customer. Now in uLaw, under contacts, you're able to save a lot of the contact information, like first name, last name, AKA name, person's correspondence address. You could capture the source of contact. Maybe it was a Law Society referral. But one additional field that we allow you to capture is what's called as a work email. And this is very critical, and it's a prerequisite to enable this integration between Gmail and uLaw. It does not have to be a Gmail account. So your customer could have an email across any account. It could be Yahoo or Hotmail, MSN, Outlook. But essentially you would need to have the Chrome extension installed to facilitate this between your Gmail account and your customer's email. Okay? So let's say you have, for purposes of this demo, of course I've got my ID here. You click on the Save button, so the unique identifier between the client Prince and connecting Prince to a docket or a matter is his or her email address. And once you've entered that, you go back into uLaw's docket launcher. I'm changing this to EDU, put the username, password, enter the corresponding email address. If you have already created matters for prints, what we do is we retrieve all of those matters that you've created right from uLaw. I could have this closed. I could still have this open. So I don't need to have uLaw open. Right? So I've got it closed. I just have my Chrome extension going, but I've authorized myself to be able to connect back to uLaw by clicking the search button, by putting my username, my secret key, and the customer's email address that I want to correspond with. So for this email address, we have 3 matters that we've retrieved from the uLaw account. There's a traffic ticket, a will matter, and there's a purchase of a condo. So let's say there are 3 matters for this client, and there's a bit of a correspondence between you and the client. I'm going to compose an email as your client. I'm going to say, need to discuss this matter. Hi, kindly provide me the documentation I need to fill in to create the wills document, right? For me, so it could be anything. And I hit send. So let's just assume that your client has sent you this email. Okay? I'm just going to wait for that email to land. I've switched back into another Gmail account, which is with uLawPractice, and there it is. I received this email. Fantastic. So typically what would you do is you would read this email, and of course I would need to go back into uLaw right now. You'd read this email. If you didn't have this connection, you would write it down on a piece of paper, or you may actually have uLaw open, and then you'd retype all of that information into uLaw. Right? Rather, what you can do is, let's say you do intend to read this email. Click on this email, and I'll draw your attention to these 2 red buttons. They get automatically installed as soon as you've downloaded our Ula Toolbox. Okay? You can first tag and tell what's happened with this. You can say, I received this email. I've actually read this email. You can click on uLaw email read. You can see I've tagged it. You just have to click it once. Next step is to click on the toolbox itself. Click on the docket launcher. Choose the particular matter to which you want to associate this action of you having read the email. I'm going to say the wills matter. I'll say read the email. I'll say I took 12 minutes. Let's say this was a long email. Again, for purposes of this demo, this email is pretty short, but in real life, I'm sure you can appreciate this would be a pretty long email. And if it is, and let's say it's taken you 12 minutes, and if you, in your retainer letter, have pretty much signed up that you're pretty much going to charge them by billable time, then every minute matters, right? So now you're able to capture right away that it took you 12 minutes to read this email, and you associate it to the right matter across the right client through identifying their email. And with the right credentials to log in with your username and secret key, you hit the docket button. And that's pretty much it. So you mark the action that you've done with the email and associate it with the right client and matter in uLaw through the toolbox. What it does, in turn, what uLaw does through the toolbox integration, through that validation, is it goes into that particular matter. We automatically do that for you. It's an automation. It reduces the amount of manual effort that you otherwise have to take. And I'll wait for my internet to catch up. And I'll click on the wills matter. And there you go. You see that at 2:24, there was an email correspondence which says, read the email. We also put in a little description that came directly from the email. So you have your subject line, need to discuss wills matter, automatically captured in the description of your particular email. Now you can expand on it. Okay, you can certainly expand on it. If you needed to provide more content so that your customer is happy with the elaborate description, you could say that the email to understand what needs to be sent back. Okay, then you can hit apply. You've also captured the 12 minutes that it took you to read this email. And the most important component, especially if you're a growing firm and you have multiple personnel or colleagues who are responsible for various different tasks, maybe you as the primary legal representation of the company are responsible for docketing. Maybe there's a front office who is responsible for pretty much accumulating all of the billable time for that day, and end of day or prior to end of day, they probably are invoicing all of the open clients. Then this is a great feature because you've automatically captured the docket and your colleague can just go ahead and raise that invoice for that 12-minute $90 bill. I know it doesn't seem a lot, but all of that adds up. So what if this was 2 hours? That's $800 worth of time and effort that you can capture then and there. So as simple as it may seem, what we've seen over time is that this represents a lot of saved time accumulated over dockets and over time and effort that goes towards correspondence via email, whether it's for reading the email, writing an email, or just replying back and forth. Okay? Good question. So there's a quick question around the toolbox and these 3 drop-downs. Okay. First and foremost, as a client, you probably should not be worried about it. You should leave it at APP. Do not worry about EDU and STG. That's just for us as team members of uLaw to be able to use a non-production system to do this demo for you. So I'm using a demo instance, and I'm choosing the demo instance out of choice because you can see EDU. But when you log into your uLaw account, what you would mostly notice that it's actually app.uLawPractice.com. Okay, so long story short, I don't want you to worry too much about the drop-down. Leave it as where it is. By default, it is set for our customers' convenience at APP. So this is more of a bit of a inconvenience for me as a demo monkey, if you will. Okay? Alrighty, so that's one example. I could respond back. Okay, so or you can attach a document, whatever you plan to do. Go into sent email, and you can basically say, I sent this email. Basically tag it. Second step, going into the docket launcher, choosing the Wills Matter. Maybe this took 8 minutes. Again, I'm making this up. Email responded. So now you've captured the read time, you've captured time when you've sent the email. You can also do this for composing. So there's a brand new email that you're composing. You can say client intake form. You can say, hi Prince, please find attached. Or actually I have a template for this. We recommend that you create templates, especially for emails. Both Gmail and Outlook provide you with opportunities for this. And you can say uLaw email compose. Prior to sending the email, of course. Do the same thing. Choose the matter. Choose the time. And here in the description, this is where you can pretty much add whatever you want to, which automatically prompts within the docket description, right? So you could say, client, take form, drafted document, and sent for processing. 20 minutes of time, and you've docketed that as well. So again, all of this is around the convenience of correspondence between your Gmail browser account and your uLaw account. You can see email responded, the 8 minutes captured. If you give it some time, okay, I want to make sure I put the right docket in. Oh, there you go. I made a mistake of putting it into the wrong matter. So you can always correct that. Right? You can always go back in there and then add that 20 minutes there. So that's the idea of how you would use the uLaw Toolbox. First step, going into the uLaw account, going under Settings, going under Matter, quick recap, choosing G Suite as your email integration service, creating a 16-character strong secret key that uses lower, upper characters, special characters that's easy for you to remember, downloading what's called as the uLaw Toolbox under your Chrome Web Store, choosing the uLaw Docket Launcher and getting that ready by choosing your username that you use to log in into uLaw, the secret key that you just set up under email secret key, that's what's being used. It's not the password, it's the secret key. Then choosing a customer who has an email that's unique to him or her. If you have this customer with similar email, sometimes when you're working with a corporate company and they may have a standard email, then we'll give you a little notice right under this bell icon that tells you that you actually have multiple clients. If you've chosen or if you've entered the wrong password or secret key, we'll tell you that it's the wrong secret key. So we do handle errors pretty well. So you should pretty much cover there. But the assumption is that there's a unique email that correlates to a client. And once you've done that, as and when you receive information or emails rather from your clients, you can use the email compose, the email read, or email sent aspects of emails, just about those three things that you can do, and toggle them by using those buttons followed by the docket launcher, and that automatically enters that in as a docket into your uLaw account. Okay. I think I made the mistake of doing it again with purchase of condo, for anyone who did notice that, so there it is twice. That's what happens if you have fast fingers. So to be quite honest, in terms of demonstrating this capability and for it to be fresh in your memory, I want to be able to pause here and take any questions that you may have. That's all pretty much we have in terms of us being able to demonstrate it. And of course, I'll go one step further. As much as this docket launcher is used for email correspondence, and the connection between the docket launcher and the email is the action that you take within the email sent, email read, right? That tags connects it to the docket launcher. But I've also seen some of our smart clients use this docket launcher outside of the context of the email itself. So they may not even be in uLaw. They would use this, run this all the time. And let's say there's a different docket for purchase of condo, and it's not so much email. This could be document drafting, right? You can pretty much docket, pretty much use this as a docket rather than just being the matter. Of course, you don't have the convenience of the wonderful docketing blueprints that you have with the uLaw, but you can just say 36 minutes. If you docket that as a shortcut, and I shouldn't be saying this, but almost as a shortcut, you could use the docket launcher as just a quick and fast, easy way for you to docket outside of uLaw itself. If you notice, look at that. We were able to docket that from outside of uLaw. Typically, you would come in here and say add new event, and you've done the same thing here. But all we're saying is we've now enabled for this to be available from outside the system too. Okay. But again, be very responsible in how you use this, because you want to be very cognitive of the security aspect of anyone and everyone with that access to secret key, also having access to be able to connect to your uLaw account. So only you should know what that secret key is and share it with privacy top of your mind. But ideally, we've integrated this as a high secure HTTPS socket, and hence the data, when it's being transferred back and forth, is secure and it's compliant. So don't have to worry about that. It's just that if someone were to know your secret key, then certainly they have access. And if they know the email of your client, of course, then they certainly do have access to be able to dock it straight into their system. Okay? Alrighty, so that was pretty much everything that I wanted to cover in today's webinar. Again, the title for today's webinar was Gmail Integration, and hopefully I was able to drive home the message how you could use the uLaw Toolbox to integrate your Gmail email correspondences from clients back into uLaw as time and material dockets that enable you right away to be ready to invoice the client for all the time and effort that you've put in with corresponding to their emails. I'll pause and take any questions at this time, and yeah, definitely look forward to learning more from you. Interestingly enough, if you've started seeing our chat, one important introduction is that now uLaw, I believe it's one of the first companies to enable our legal practitioners to docket right from the Apple Watch. So if you are a Apple user, and if you have an Apple Watch, again, two prerequisites, if you will, then you are now able to not only docket from your phone, we're also going to introduce where you can talk into the phone. That's always been our founder's dream, to be able to summon a legal practitioner to just open that phone and just say, hey, docket prints with 18 minutes of document generation. As you know, we've already introduced the whole concept of being able to talk into your docketing. If you've noticed, we have this new feature. Every time you click on description, you can pretty much record what you want to record as a docket. Kindly docket 20 minutes for this matter. I guess my microphone is not connected, so I'm going to skip it, but oh, there it is. Okay, so you could see we've already done this, right? So you can go ahead and apply this. You can talk into uLaw. So imagine the coolness of being able to talk on your phone, and very similar to this docket launcher, we're able to connect between a client and uLaw through the toolbox. We'll be able to connect it through the Apple Watch, and hopefully we'll get that into the Android system soon too. So you as a legal practitioner can really be as cool as Batman in a few months from now. So that's our promise, to make you look cool. Awesome. So with that, I probably will end today's presentation. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you not next week. I know it's a long weekend, but we'll look forward to seeing you April 22nd. Take it easy. Have a great weekend ahead.